right, so let's see if we could listen to the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris. He did speak about this particular scenario, the escape of the executive of Binance. This is on loop in my ear right now, guys. Okay, but we do have two gentlemen or three who are joining us here this morning. Mr. Mike Ejiofor, former director of the SSS, is here with us in the studios. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today. We also do have Olatubosun Abolanrewa, who is a security consultant, joins us virtually this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us as well on the program today. Then we will also, so let's start with both of you, but we'll also have another dimension in just a moment. But Mr. Ejiofor, I mean, yes, indeed, lots of questions already being asked about this, on this scenario. Lots of people trying to wrap their heads around what might have happened, but we do know there are clearly some operational lapses for this to have happened. Several questions about the handling of this by the NSA's office, and then the connection with immigration, what the federal government could have done upon knowledge that he has just escaped from custody, the Interpol connection, all of those just playing themselves out. So I know you must have gone through this time and again as a former operative. So what are the gaping holes that you've identified here since the horse has still bolted from the stable?
So many holes. First of all, it's not the NSA that investigate issues. He coordinates and advises the president. Now, the EFCC is the agency handling the prosecution, and he should have ordinarily been in their custody. Now, granted, without conceding that the NSA took custody of the suspect, he was left too loose. He had access to telephones. He was even taken to the mosque from where he escaped. So a lot of questions must be asked and answered.
So is it that when that happened and the NSA was lead in the entire scenario, agencies like the DSS, immigration, they don't ask questions as to what's going on with this? Is there anything we need to know? Should need be? Or everybody just says, well, it's up to the NSA to decide what it wants to do with it?
You know, there's a proverb in my place that you won't be so energetic or you have strength to work, and you begin to beg people to assign you for a job. It's only the job assigned to the SSS that it does. It doesn't have the right of coming to, or any agency for that matter, doesn't have the right to begin to ask NSA, why did you not do this, or why did you do this?
No, not why. I mean, at the time that it was announced that he was arrested for, economic sabotage, which is a serious thing if eventually...
It's a crime against the state. I think we must draw a distinction with that.
Yes.
You have crimes against the state. Sabotage is one of them. You have subversion, espionage, insurgency, terrorism. These are cases that fall under the purview of the State Security Service. So ordinarily, it should have been referred to the SSS or the EFCC, which is also involved in investigating financial crimes, as it were, because of these Binance cases. So it's either the EFCC or the SSS that should have ordinarily handled this matter. But for whatever reason, I don't know. But for me, I look at two things responsible for this. It's either gross negligence on part of the operatives there or compromise. But I think I will align more with compromise. My reasons are obvious. If you look at the time he allegedly escaped from custody, because he had access to phone, he could have made a lot of contacts. The time he has absconded from this, and the time he got to the airport and traveled, as being alleged, nobody knows whether he actually traveled through the airport, but that's the report we are getting.
Yeah, the report is that he went through the airport with his Kenyan passport.
Investigation will reveal that. So what I'm saying is that by the time they noticed that he has absconded, if there was no compromise, he would first of all go to his house. He wouldn't move from
his house where? In Nigeria or
in Nigeria? He wouldn't have moved from where he is to straight to the airport.
Why would he want to go to his house when he's supposed to be under watch?
I mean, when he escaped,
yeah,
he has a place he was staying.
So if I'm escaping, I won't go to my house first.
How would you, then if he has a passport, how would he get the passport?
But
how would he get
a mosque?
Yeah, somebody will give it to him. I mean,
what about his clothing, his belongings?
I won't be thinking about that if I'm supposed to escape.
That would be the least of his concern.
Even if I will just slippers and boxers, I don't mind. I'll get out of the place. That's the first thing that will come to mind.
It's a possibility, but I'm just telling you, I'm not just creating scenarios that are most likely, you know, before he got to the airport. The point I'm trying to make is that there was sufficient time from the time he absconded to the airport. It would take not less than 2 hours.
It depends on when the authorities got the information, though.
I mean, if not compromise, immediately it is noticed that the operatives guarding him must report to the
NSA office.
Not the superior officers around.
And then also quickly alert the airport authorities.
Exactly.
So there are big questions. I mean, even if, because this person was said to have, Mr. Anjawala, I know that one of the things when I heard the incident yesterday, one of the things I immediately had to do was go and cram the man's one of the things that, you know, immediately one would think that they had to do was alert the security agencies, because even if, let's just paint a scenario that, okay, he didn't go back to the guest house, or whoever was aiding him met him at the mosque, the question then will be, you know, the people who were guarding him, at what time were they alert? At what time did he say he wanted to go and pray? Is it a time that they know that another flight is close by to landing, and then they know that they can quickly plot their escape maybe within an hour or 2 hours, as the case might be? So they're very big questions to ask, you know. But I mean, you're not the first person to say that you suspect that, you know, there could have been compromise rather than negligence.
The issues you raised are very, very critical and vital. It's a whole mess.
It is scandalous.
Very scandalous. It's a national embarrassment. And if you look, I mean, if he's rearrested, perhaps we'll get to know the details of how he left that place.
Well, I do know that one of the reasons why initially the authorities handled them with care, the Binance executives that they had arrested, was because when they came into the country initially, there was no real charge against them. It took the authorities a while, and even we found them following due process, going to the court to obtain 14 days detention warrants for them. And I think there was also some conversation with these people who were saying they wanted to be interrogated within the embassies of their country. Mr. Anjawala, we understand, came in with a UK passport. So it would seem that they were also leveraging on diplomatic ground. So maybe that was why the authorities seemed a bit kind. But looking at the gravity, the enormity of what Nigerian authorities sought to extract from them, should we have been that, will I say, generous, exactly, compassionate with the terms and conditions that we granted these people for their holding?
I can tell you, I still can't come to terms what happened. And that's why it needs proper investigation. And incidentally, the Office of the National Security Advisor has also instituted investigation, and the people on duty have been arrested. They have some stories to tell us. And more stories, and I hope it doesn't open up a can of worms.
Well, if he opens it up, so be it. As a matter of fact, Mr. Tuberson, let's bring you in on this matter, because for the policing component here, because several people have spoken about the Interpol perspective and Interpol angle here. So what's your thoughts about, from the points, because the Minister of Information did say that much, that the government has alerted Interpol, we're in a manhunt for him now because he's a fugitive as it is now. So from the time that the government alerted Interpol that he had boarded his flight and escaped from custody here, isn't it possible that even before the plane touches ground wherever, whether Bejilis or anywhere else, Interpol authorities would have been there waiting to apprehend him and bring him back to this country? Or are we overthinking things here? I thought that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. The moment that happens and a criminal or a suspect becomes a fugitive and we have an idea or intelligence about his means of movement, which is within the fuselage of a flight, which is in air, is as good as being arrested because it's actually going to land at a port of authority where we have cooperation with Interpol. Another question we now need to ask ourselves in order to answer your question correctly is, what is our Interpol cooperation with the country is going to? How fantastic is that? How quick did we communicate with them? They will pick him up there, they will detain him, and the necessary procedure needs to be followed. Now, the question that is really surprising me now is that the moment we knew that he's already in a plane going towards Kenya or wherever he's going, did our operative take another flight to go after him and go there straight? He's going to get there before them. They will have alerted everybody that needs to be alerted. But from all the information available to me right now, I don't have the nitty-gritty of this operation. So I don't want to be in a hurry to point accusing finger at the relevant authority, particularly Interpol. But there are a few things we really need to look at because the road safety came out to tell us that every accident happened as a result of series of incidents. And there are a lot of questions to ask here. One of the biggest questions that is turning my head around now is the style of detention. Who is detaining who? Whose case is this? Are there strategic failure on the part of all the security agencies that are supposed to handle this? My colleague in the studio just mentioned that this is a case for EFCC. In Nigeria today, EFCC have one of the best and watertight custody for any suspect. Why was he not there? Another thing is, I really don't know how we do it here. Should a suspect have such freedom, a suspect of that magnitude, have a freedom as to say he wants to go and pray? There are praying facilities in the NSA facility. If he's in a cell or in a room, he could as well pray in that place. I'm suspecting the issue of a little bit of compromise, and I think somebody needs to be held accountable and responsible for this while we go forward in working on how to bring him back into custody.
Okay, well, I understand we also do have Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, former military officer who's also a security consultant, joining us virtually to get his perspective on this subject matter. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program as well. So go ahead and talk to us about your immediate thoughts on this subject matter because, okay, so we'll see how we can get him to speak on this matter. But Mr. Joffo, interagency cooperation, this kind of scenarios, because when you talk about immigration, because the few conversation is that immigration, Minister of Interior, they all have questions to answer. And for instance, if people say, well, immigration should have flagged them. So the question is, was immigration notified about this such that they put him, flag this name so that if he approaches, the name immediately pops up? So we don't know if that happened. From the look of things, for him to have gone through, it appears as though that didn't happen.
Well, it is the responsibility of the State Security Service to watch list people of security interest. But unless the SSS is handling the matter or another agency makes request, the SSS does not place people on watch list. So I believe that the man was not proper communication. There was no proper communication in terms of placing the man on watch list.
In this case, from the NSA's office.
Exactly, from the NSA's office. Because, and the NSA knows better. The office of the NSA knows better that this man should have been placed under watch. But I believe also, since they felt they had his passport, there was no way he could travel. But the information being revealed now, he has 2 passports. And if he uses the alternate passport to travel, there's no way you can track him down if he's not placed on watch list. Even if he was placed on watch list and he has another passport with a different name, he could possibly travel to.
But with the same face?
The face is immaterial. People, if you go outside, you see people who look like you.
Yeah, so but biometrics, we know that the new passports
you
now.
get the name, You get the name, match the name before the biometrics. Because if you are not satisfied with, you cannot just take name alone, because we have people with similar names. I can have Mike of up to 10. But if you place that one and you now put the biometrics, you'll be able to know the exact person you are looking for. But if you don't have the name and just facials, it's going to be difficult.
Well, interesting. Well, I'm sure we have the biometrics for, for when he came in as a British citizen. And I'm sure that if because what we understand is that he has dual citizenship.
Yes.
And that, the story we're hearing is that the second passport which he used was smuggled to him. I don't know, but just my own imagination is saying maybe it was smuggled to him in the mosque where he went to pray.
Under the watch of those who are supposed to be watching him?
Oh, well, maybe they gave him some freedom to go in the mosque and go and pray.
That's what they say, there's complicity.
Of course.
Perhaps, or maybe it was just too trusting. Because when you look also, sometimes people look at the mien of somebody and maybe they just think, no, this is not a threat. This is not the kind. Maybe there was a misreading of, we don't know under whose custom, who was holding him captive. Maybe there was a misreading of his threat level assessment.
There is no way. You are a suspect, and you are a person of interest. If you are in custody, you are in custody. You are not given such amenities and facilities like telephone. You can use it to cause a lot of havoc, and that's exactly what happened in this case. He had access to phone. You are a person of interest, high risk suspect, and you allow him access to phone.
So let's not forget that this gentleman, excuse me, I'm using that word very advisedly, came into Nigeria of their own volition. They were not brought in by the Interpol. So if they begin to leverage on things like that to say, look, we came of our own free will because Nigerian authorities said they invited us. I think there's some of the things that people consider, or security agencies consider, when they also, give certain leverages, or when they give, because we've also seen reports of their own family members before now, saying that, oh, Nigerian authorities didn't say that they were going to arrest their people. They only came to answer questions, genuine questions, posed by Nigerian authorities.
Questions of interest for our national security. And beyond that, they've been charged to court. Court granted the NSA the custody for the first 14 days. Because I hear people talk about illegal detention and the parent and the wife talking about not of illegal detention. They were duly and properly detained through court order. So they have cases to answer. So the issue of body language or mien does not even arise. They are high-risk suspects, and that should have been accorded the necessary degree of protection.
Well, I think Group Captain Sadiq should be there now. So, Captain, thank you for joining us on the program today. So, lots of questions for security agencies in the country. Many wondering, how could this have happened? In fact, these are the kind of things that in other clients people resign for. So, could you talk to us about what you think might have gone wrong with the handling of this now fugitive?
Thank you very much. Yeah, certainly there is no saying it. It is a bad day at the office for the Nigerian security agencies.
Oh yeah, I think I lost his sound there. We can't seem to. Okay, Captain.
When you look, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I can hear you.
From what's available from public domain, that the man was allowed to go and pray, and then from there he left. We can walk back and say, now, the issue of going to pray, whatever faith, is one of the principles of detaining somebody. You cannot deprive him from going to prayers. It is one of the guarantees actually that I should give. However, for such a high-profile, person, you would think that what he's going to be praying is going to be followed by security agencies. They will even decide where he is going to pray, because as a Muslim, he can pray anywhere. But that was not done. But after making the initial error of him escaping, to me, when I'm looking at the timeline, is that we didn't hear anything on Friday, we didn't hear anything on Saturday, we didn't hear anything on Sunday, we didn't hear anything till on Monday. That is yesterday that statement was given. So you are giving a timeline of about 3 to 4 days, which is not good enough. Why is it not? Okay, from the moment, let's assume, despite all the mistakes done, let's assume okay, prayer time. You wait for prayer. Prayer time should not be more than 1 hour. Should expect after 1 hour, somebody should be able to raise alarm that this man is no longer there. If the man is no longer there, then you send out a notice to be on the lookout for him. Of course, the first things you do is the international entry points, whether it is by road or by air or by sea, is to send so that they look out for this person. That is why I see the 3-day lag, even though the government does not tell us what they are doing. But when you say somebody is on the lookout, even the general public ought to know, because it's not necessary that it's only security agencies that will be able to see him. Other Nigerian citizens would be able to locate him if he flashed that he's wanted. So I really cannot understand why he left on Friday, but we didn't hear publicly till on Monday. Let's even go backwards again. The issue is being brought that the man has a double passport or double nationality, Nigeria and Kenyan. I mean,
well, Captain Sadiq, the connection is trying to make it a bad day at the office.
Traveling documents he has, whether he has 10, yes. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I mean, the connection was it just was coming in a little wonky. But go ahead. I think I heard the last bit of what you said. Conclude your thoughts on that one.
So you can even go back. Yes, the issue that he had multiple, to me, is not an excuse. Why? When you are taking such a person, I think everything we should have profiled him. What is his identity? What is his nationality? What travel documents he have? And then, let's face it, for this man to have arranged his escape, he must have had a means of communication. He must have communicated with somebody.
Okay, Captain, we'll come back to you. We'll try and see if we can improve that connection. But part of what we're going to ask him, because what they do in the military, I don't know if SSS does the same thing, Mr. Jaffor. When this kind of scenarios happen, they need to just go back and see how they can review the operating procedure and ensure that this kind of things don't happen again. But this appears to be some very, very basic errors from the way these things are in terms of the handling of this matter.
Well, from the investigation is concluded, there must be consequences. Because the problem we have in this country...
Consequences for who now?
For the people on duty. I mean, the people on duty, like we said, is either negligence or compromise. So when the investigation is concluded and they're able to... This must be a net. It's not something one person can do.
So I'm just wondering, because I mean, we've put it down. I mean, we've heard from the authorities. The Nigerian government briefed yesterday the Minister of Information. We also heard from the FIRS. I'm looking for what they call the FIRS chief now. Is the executive, the chairman of the FIRS? Thank you. A chairman of FIRS said, well, this doesn't stop their case because they deal with companies, and that they are taking Binance to court. And they're still on with that particular matter. So the fact that one of the executives escaped doesn't have any bearing or will not affect their case in any way. But we had the Minister of Information brief on this situation, and he had quite a bit to say they're enlisting the help of Interpol, etc., etc. I'm just looking at the situation right now, and I'm asking, the question is escaping my mind a bit, but I'm wondering, painting the scenario, looking at the current situation, and I'm wondering how it is that could it also be incompetence? Because we've said negligence, we've said compromise. Could it also be incompetence? Have we ever had a scenario like this where somebody has been in our custody and the person escapes?
Incompetence is one of them, but negligence, compromise. But for me, the most likely factor responsible for this compromise, which is also part of negligence. Because if it's compromise, you must be doing it for a specific purpose. Either you have been bribed or you have been giving a promise.
Yeah, but isn't this a too dangerous a situation to be compromising on?
It's dangerous. That's why it's a national problem now. And that the NSA must get to the root of this matter. Investigate it, even if it means turning over the people on duty on that particular day, either to the SSS or to the EFCC for thorough investigation.
Yeah, I just remembered now. The Nigerian authorities did say, the minister did say that they have been arrested and that they are currently answering questions. The minister said that. But I am wondering, because ideally, in a normal situation, if this kind of thing happens, the alarm that they ought to have raised, the nets that ought to have been spread immediately to be able to drag him in, where, you know, when that escape happened, it says a lot about, you know, how quickly it was, because Group Captain Sadiq said he escaped on Friday. We heard when media house heard, I think it was on Sunday,
Sunday.
But they refused to, the authorities refused to, you know, confirm that particular, until they found out that it was totally out of their control and it was out in the media space. So in that scenario, do you also sense a bit of, was it shame? Was it incompetence? Was it, what exactly was it? Why would you think that authorities will be quiet about something as sensitive as that until, you know, giving out only an authoritative statement on Monday?
Of course, you know that this is not just a national, but an international embarrassment.
Yeah, but so be honest with Nigerians.
I believe that possibly, I'm not speaking for anybody.
Yes.
But I believe that possibly they must have been walking around the clock to see if the rearrest can be effected. You remember when Charles Taylor also escaped? They are not related issues. Yeah. And the president then, Obasanjo, gave directive. He was arrested at the border and brought back. So the gap, the timeline, I completely agree with it. The timeline was too long, you know, for any. Possibly they were trying to cover up to see if they can get the man rearrested.
Are there any similarities between this escape and that of Charles Taylor?
No similarity. They are not the same.
Two different cases.
They are two different cases. They are two different cases.
You know, Mr. Bolarinwa, just to get your further thoughts on this matter now, from the info that you've got, what does it reinforce the mindset that citizens have of security agencies? Because people don't understand why in the first instance they were not even upfront and honest with Nigerians about the circumstances and when this actually happened. And so people just, citizens got to know much, much later after the rubber had hit the road.
All right, then, when it comes to security handling, it is not really necessary to come public about the nitty-gritty of what is going on. Certain operational steps need to be taken. And the fact that they come open in the air could leak out vital information. If you ask me, I really want to go to the mind of those who are handling this, and I thought that they thought they could handle this quietly and get it arrested. It could be an error on their part. It could be a wrong judgment on their part. But the fact that a fugitive is on the loose and is on the run, except he's a very dangerous fugitive who can be further give further danger to members of the public. That is when you see the Inspector General of Police, the Commissioner of Police of the concerned area coming out to say, suspect is on the loose, is dangerous, help us look out for him in this area. But in this particular case, it's a very sensitive one. And I think
but Mr. Bolarinwa, pardon me to jump in.
Yes.
They were arrested for economic sabotage in the first place. What is it that you have to lose?
Yes.
The guy is on the run. Your people have compromised. You don't know the gravity of who and what is involved or what else they are capable of. You didn't know that he had another passport. So many unknowns. So if you had told the people, what is the nitty-gritty about saying, look, his escape is on the run, we're hunting for him. If you find him, let us know. What is that? What is the big deal about that? How is that nitty-gritty in the first place?
All right, then. It depends on who information has been shared with first. Let us divide it now. You are talking about public getting to know. I am talking about necessary security operative getting to know. If in the course of getting further knowledge that all security agencies, including the immigration and all the airport security, were not alerted, I will want to admit that it was a gross misconduct and failure on the part of all the concerned security agencies. But one thing I do know, being an operative myself in the past, is that a lot of work has to go on at the background before you come out to say things. How long that is going on for before you come to the TV and do stuff? Probably whoever that is at the helm of this affair thought that communication team with the Interpol to pick him up wherever it's landing will have solved the problem, and it turned out that it didn't work out that way. Could be the case. But at the end of the day, it's all the same. I want to drag you back to the issue of Kabiru Sokoto at a time who escaped. We had the news on time that he escaped. And I think the operative too were doing the needful before they got him rearrested and brought him back to
well, it was a different operative that were in charge of this case. Okay, let's try. Yeah, we heard you. Let's see if we can get back a group captain, Sadiq Shehu, on this matter. So, Captain, tell us now that this is the case, just getting some channel noise here, guys. Let's see if we can address that. But we'll come back to him. So, Mr. Joffa, let me come to you while we'll try to sort that out. What should we be doing now?
All efforts must be concentrated on his rearrest. The NSA, the federal government, has said they are liaising with Interpol to ensure his rearrest. Don't also forget that this man has some cases in there. So he's an international, I wouldn't use criminal, suspect, you know, as it were. We should gear efforts to make sure he's rearrested, come back to Nigeria. It's a trial.
Because we don't even know, because you said initially that he's definitely got a network. So we don't even know who those network, if they are still here, the authorities here. So at what point now should the DSS and the likes be coming into this kind of matter?
Well, like I said before, I believe the NSA must have tasked the State Security Service on to assist in investigation. With the EFCC, I expect a collaborative effort between the NSA's office, the SSS, and the EFCC at this particular time.
You know, when the president came in, he took a tour of some facilities, security facilities, and he said, work together, not at cross purposes. So this suggests that they are here to implement what he has said fully. And sometimes he even raises more questions. Is this why we're still grappling with Boko Haram?
Well, I think we will not take, because of this particular incident.
These are clear lapses. If the agencies are working together.
It could be the fault of one agency, like the Office of the National Security Advisor. If they had collaborated and handled this suspect.
No, what I mean is, the concept of someone in those circles always having a price.
Yes. We are saying the same thing. If we had taken this man into proper custody, we wouldn't be facing this. So the collaborative effort is there, but I don't also want to agree that there's no collaboration between all the agencies in some other areas. Like you're talking of Boko Haram. I agree. There are differences, issues of political influence. You know, one agency. It's not impossible. There's no way you can see all the agencies work without this rivalry. But it must be brought down. It must be, because each agency, because of political influence, will want to say, I'm doing this to impress the political authorities. So it's always there. It cannot be ruled out.
I am just, you know, I'm still trying to wrap my head around, you know, everything that has happened. And I'm sure a lot of Nigerians too were scandalized when they heard this news. And, you know, you immediately start to picture movies that you've watched in your head and how fugitives escape. And you have to ask, you know, is it that they're...
No, they don't watch movies.
I don't know. You know, was it that they were that trusting? Was it that they were, you know, big questions really to ask of our security agencies. But I'm wondering, now that this has happened, do you think that we've taken appropriate steps? Because right now, as Mr. Sadiq said, Group Captain Sadiq said, he escaped on Friday. We're just telling Nigerians now that you need our help. Usually, if Interpol had been informed on time, maybe they would have been able to track the flight and pick him up upon arrival, you know, assuming we have a cooperation with the country where that is happening. But to hear about this 3-4 days later, there's a big question as to what really can anyone do, especially with people who deal in crypto. They're dealing with, I don't want to say dark money, but these people know how to move money around without being traced.
A lot can still be done. You remember the case of Mamu. He was not arrested in Nigeria, was arrested in Nigeria and brought back to Nigeria through collaboration. And of course, we'll be in hiding now. That's why the NSA, all the other agencies, work together and see how Interpol can assist. Because as it is now, except he gets another passport, he cannot travel now because he knows he's under observation.
Let me ask.
Have another passport.
The Kenyan passport. I mean, he's an executive of Binance. He can easily purchase another passport. Let me ask Mr. Olatunbosun, you know, if there's a role for diplomacy here. Yes, he does have, you know, dual citizenship. I'm just wondering, what role can diplomacy play here? Did you hear me, sir? I was asking if you see a role for diplomacy here. Okay, okay. I don't know if Mr. Olatunbosun is still with us. If you can hear me, sir, I was asking, do you see a role for diplomacy here?
Yes, there is a role for diplomacy, and the quality of the diplomacy we have with our neighboring country is something that needs to be checked. Are we still in cooperative? And if not, is there any work that needs to be done to ensure that we have such diplomatic cooperation? Some suspect has been arrested in Kenya before and in other countries with the help and apt and swift movement of the Interpol. I think there is need for us to review that and improve our diplomatic relationship with other countries in order to boost security in our country in this type of situation.
Well, we have been told now that this doesn't affect the case that Nigeria has against Binance. I think the chairman of FIRS, you know, told us that. So I'm wondering, this is to you, Group Captain, if you can hear me. I'm hoping that you can. Are you comforted by this? How do you see this matter proceeding in Nigerian courts? And do you think that when eventually we get judgment, how do you see it being effected?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I understand the argument that Binance is a corporate body. So with or without the person that escaped, yes, the case can continue. However, permit me to add that now that this person has escaped, what role for diplomacy? We have to recall, you know, this man has two nationalities, British and Kenyan. So we must assume that he goes to Kenya or goes to London. What are the options we have?
All right, gentlemen, we have to thank all of you.
Now, that will depend. There are two instruments that might be.
Okay, just quickly wrap up because we need to go. I thought you had stopped, actually.
Okay.
Okay, we lost that. It just kept on fading in and out. So we have to thank all of you for coming on this morning. Mikey Joffor, former director with the State Security Service, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, former Army officer, and Olatunbosun himself, who is the security consultant. Thank you all for coming on today.